So my customer stopped by the shop today and brought me his pinball machine to get pimped out. When they came in, they saw the cool shit on the walls and some of my nice machines, so I had to show them around. Eventually, we got around to looking at his Corvette pinball machine from Bally. We went over all the details, showed him a few things that were wrong with it, figured out what we were going to add to the machine to pimp it out. That way, I could get started and he could get the hell out of here. So as you can see, my customer dropped off his 1994 Bally Corvette machine and it is filthy. It's just a little bit too much to start in today. It's getting late, so we'll just tackle this thing first thing in the morning. Well, after giving this a quick look over, I've got my work cut out for me. With the condition this machine's in, I'm probably staring at 25 to 30 hours of work to get this thing pimped out and looking like new again. After a quick once-over on the outside of the cabinet, she actually looks pretty nice for 30 years old. Looks like I'm only going to have to do a few black paint touch-ups. Alright, so it's early Monday morning and we need to move a few things around the shop so I can pull this pinball machine out and give it a once-over. I'm going to see what new parts we need to order so we can figure out how to tackle this restoration. So as always, we open up the coin door and take off the lockdown bar. We'll go ahead and slide out the glass and go put it somewhere where it doesn't get broken. So here's the playfield, and you can see how dirty it is. I don't think this thing's been cleaned in 30 years since '94. All the clears are dulled and yellowed. You can see the ball trail up the ramps. You can see the dirt where the ball rolls way back in the corners. So every bit of this is going to get torn down so we can clean into every single corner and make this thing look new again. So when we fire up this machine, we're getting factory settings restored, which means the batteries are dead. Let's go check it out. If we look inside the head, we can go down here on the batteries and we can see that the batteries are from March of 2003. So after 21 years, I guess they're probably dead by now. So I went around and played a game by hand and see what switches are and aren't working. And you can see that I found one here that's just loose and there's nothing going on. So I'll have to address that. All right, it's time to lift up the playfield and see what we're dealing with on the underside. And I'm sure it's just as dirty as the top is. The inside of the cabinet doesn't look too bad and we can sweep all this out. But just like I expected, the bottom of the playfield is just as dirty as the top side. I'm going to rebuild both flipper mechanisms and install LED lights throughout the entire machine. So I'm just going to give this a quick wipe down. So when I'm assessing everything else, I don't get black soot all over my fingers every time I try to do something. So we'll get to the final polish soon, but boy, you can see what a difference just getting some of that black off. Look at that. So I'm getting ready to place an order here with Pinball Life, and we had to buy some Novus polish, a new lock, some cabinet protectors, a few targets, flippers, lanes and lane posts, post rubber, colored rubber, and then we had to order some new flipper mechanisms and pawls. Also had to add 2 micro switches in, and that should be just about it to get this thing up and running. So I spent half the day cleaning this playfield down, getting all the black soot off of it so I didn't get everything all over my fingers. I took inventory of the playfield. I figured out what kind of switches, posts, rubbers, flippers, targets, every little thing that needs to be ordered on this, including some parts for the bottom flippers as well. Anyway, that stuff's not going to come in for 3 or 4 days, so there's really not much I can do with this machine right now. So I think we're going to call it a day since it's Saturday. I'm gonna go drink a beer. Catch up with me next week when we tear this thing down and make it look better than new. All right, it's midweek. I ordered all the parts, but only a few of them have come in. One thing that did come in is all the LED bulbs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift the playfield up. I'm gonna put all the LEDs on the bottom side of the playfield that are in the inserts just to get a little head start. That way when the other parts come in the next few days, all I'll have to do is the top side of the playfield tear down then. So let's get started installing these bulbs. Inserts and the light bulbs here that we're going to have to replace, and my God, these inserts are absolutely filthy. So I'm going to have to go in and clean all these while I'm swapping all the bulbs. That way they'll look nice and clear when shining through the playfield. So how we find which lights are on which insert, we go to the menu and then we go over to tests and then we go to single lamps. This way, as we fast forward through, it will only light up a single light bulb, and that way we know which one to replace. They also give you a chart so you know what color and what type of bulb go in each one of the inserts. So you can see how dirty these original bulbs are. They're probably 30 years old. This is what they should look like, nice and clear. What we're gonna do is replace them with LED bulbs that are twice as bright. When changing LEDs, sometimes it's easier to remove the entire light board rather than install the bulbs individually. I take out the screws, flip the board over, that way it's easy to assess all the bulbs in one shot. Well, we definitely need to clean the inserts because they look like window tint at this point. Now that I've changed all 9 LEDs on the board, I can reinstall it back to the playfield. Now I'm going to tackle all the individual sockets and clean all the light inserts with a Q-tip. Install the new LED bulb and then do that for every other socket on the bottom of the playfield. Ah yes, let there be light. So now we're going to change out all these incandescent bulbs with cool white LEDs to brighten up the back box. So now I just have to do that about 40 more times. All right, 42 bulbs later, and we're finally done with the back box, and that is the last one. So I'll change out the flashers. We can get the trans light back on this thing and be done with that part. Well, the cool white bulbs in the back box look really good on this trans light. All right, it's Wednesday morning and it is cold in the shop this morning. So we got our parts in over the weekend. We got our colored rubbers and our new post. I got flipper hardware and coil stops so I can rebuild the flippers on the game. I also got in a speaker upgrade kit from Flipper Fidelity speakers, and I also got a color display from Color DMD. So the goal for me today is get this entire playfield completely stripped down and put back together new. If I have time, I'll upgrade the speakers and install the color display. If not, we'll tackle that tomorrow, and that should just wrap it up for this Corvette machine. Here's what a $500 pinball display looks like. Ah yes, the first screw of the teardown. At this point, I cannot see any light at the end of the tunnel. I'm staring at 25 to 30 hours of restoration on this machine. So no time like the present, let's get started. Next up, remove the crossed flags dragway. I'll take out all the screws and remove all the connector pins. I heard something rattling around inside, but we'll just move this over to my staging area and we'll take a look at this mechanism later. Next up, remove the engine plastic and another plastic in order to get to the screws that hold on the wire form. Most wire forms and ramps have switches on them with wires that run down under the playfield. I'll have to remove those plugs in order to remove the ramps from the top side. After removing the right side wire form, it's time to start taking off the ramps. Just when you think you have every plug and every screw removed, there's always that one that you forget about. On to the left side where I removed the exhaust header plastic. Still wiping black dust off of everything so I don't get it all over my hands when removing the top lane guides. Now that everything's removed, I can get in there and polish everything up nicely. I'm now moving on to the engine ramp mechanism. I have to be careful when pulling all the wires because I don't want anything to break off. It's such a pain in the ass to solder all these back on later. Oh, and did I mention how dirty it was? Well, there's all the parts removed. Now all I have to do is clean them and put them back in the right location. The playfield is now cleaned and polished and it looks great. The engine ramp is now clean, so I'm going to give it a little polish and get it installed back on the playfield. I just love my little shorty screwdriver. I would never be able to get into some of these places with a longer one. There were 4 plugs on this ramp that operated the switches and the optos. Let's plug those back in and we'll be done with the engine ramp. Next, I'll remove all the stubborn black post rubber and replace them with new orange silicone. Now that I have new rubber on the plastic lane guides, I can reinstall them over the brand new red LEDs. I'll reinstall 3 new red bumper caps and some more yellow post sleeves. Now on to the right side, where I'll remove some plastics and remove some old rubber. Going to polish up the targets a bit, and then we'll put some new rubber back on, new LED, and reinstall the plastic. Next, I'm going to work on the slingshot area. Going to remove all the plastics, remove the rubber, and remove all the old red posts. Now that everything's been cleaned, I can reinstall the new post, the new LED bulbs, new rubbers, and new slingshot plastics. So I spent about 6.5 hours yesterday tearing this whole playfield down and getting it all put back together. Didn't quite have enough time to finish up the ramps and the wire forms, so I'm going to polish these up a little bit today, get ramps, wire forms installed, get the drag strip put back on, then we can tackle the speakers and the color display. Then this thing should pretty much be wrapped up. We can get it back to the customer, and I'm sure he's going to be blown away. Now that the skid pad ramp is all cleaned and polished, it's time to get it back on the playfield. I'll tighten up the 2 screws at the bottom of the ramp. And the 2 screws in the back that hold the ramp to the backboard. Then we should be done with all 3 ramps. I'll reinstall the ball diverter and then finagle in the right side wire form and get it reinstalled. Then I'll move over to the left side of the machine and get that wire form installed as well. We'll get everything lined up and everything tightened back down. I'll reinstall the engine cover, and that means we're getting really close to having this playfield finished. So I heard a little something rattling down inside the drag strip. Come to find out that there's a threaded little bar here that the screws go in from the top side, and of course they fell out, so there was no way to get in here, so I had to take the back off of this thing and put some new screws in. But that's what it looks like down inside. Looks like there's some optos, a motor with some gears, and an opto goes through those little bitty holes in those wheels, and that senses where the car is on the track. Well, we're back to where we started from only 30 hours later. I'm going to get the dragway reinstalled, everything plugged back in. We're going to go ahead and put the drag tree back on and reinstall the 3 screws. That should just about finish it up for the top of the playfield. Now it's on to the bottom of the playfield where I can install the flipper rebuild kits. And of course, get my hands dirty again. With new flippers, coil shaft, and coil stops, this machine is going to play like new again. I'll make sure there's enough play in the flippers, and I'll line them up perfectly parallel with the ball lane guide. So I was a little ambitious on this machine the other day. I thought I was going to get the color display and the speakers installed, but the ramps and the flipper rebuild kit took me a lot longer than I thought it was. So I'm going to spend a couple hours this morning, finish up installing these parts, then I can call the customer, time to come pick this thing up. Pimp's going to get paid. So as you can see, this speaker is going to be a great improvement from what Bally installed 30 years ago. So here I am in all my glory of removing speaker bolts. And removing more speaker bolts. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and remove the old high voltage plasma display. And now the fun part. I get to put the bolts back in the speakers that I just removed. On the right side, I'll have to install a wood adapter to accommodate the larger speaker. I'll plug in the speaker wires on both sides and install the audio control up in the head. I'll do the same process in the bottom of the cabinet, installing a wood adapter to accommodate the larger subwoofer. Now it's time to install that beautiful $500 color display. I can now plug all the wires back in and then download the Color Chroma ROM and install it onto the Color DMD. Well, we're down to the final piece of the puzzle. I'm going to screw the apron back on and then install two new custom designed matching Corvette instruction cards to finish this machine off. All right, so I spent 32 hours over the last 7 days and $1,100 in parts to get this Corvette machine looking better than new. In fact, it's so nice, bright and shiny, I had to wear shades. Let's go check out the restoration photos. Tell me what you think. Until next time, keep on flipping. Out. If you'd like to see more pinball craziness, be sure to like, tag, share, and follow me at Pinball Pimp.